Alright, so guys, we're doing another episode of WIWICSO. So we're gonna start off in Italy. So the Italians, they hate the government because they all want to get back to the olden days before the national cities, because a few cities are city-states. And they worked in Greece until Liechtenstein decided to become Liechtenstein. But now there is a little revolt. This is not the right map. Also, this is pretty outdated. Basically, this would have died after the Liechtensteinians won the war. And be even more dead once they lost the war. Their king is literally a puppet. He owned the rule of a city that is, to be fair, pretty close to his old home. But he is a governor. He is a governor, but he used to be a king. I'm sure that'll work out great. But Liechtenstein will come back one day. Okay, it might. It's not officially confirmed. Remember, none of them have nukes yet. But the Liechtensteins are the Rome. Anyway, so in Greece, they decide to conquer Sicily. It's at the first stage in her ideas of a unified Mediterranean, which actually they know about. Next on the chopping block is Corsica and Sardinia. Guess what happens? I'm gonna start naming these layers. So right now Greece spans, Greece spans, but their excuse is that they are trying to unite the religion. This religious map is pretty outdated. At least outdated. More or less over here. Well, I generally didn't focus on it as much. Because Afghanistan, which used to be the strongest country in the world, is dead. Look, they're not dead, but they're definitely not living. The Jews, because these are very similar to, this is very similar to Christianity, except this one might say it started out in Israel, or the Israel region. So I don't know if I should call these the Jews or the Christians, or just the blue religion. All those could actually work. And I'm just finding a bunch of things on my map that don't work. So anyways, as you can tell, The Greeks have some ideas, but guess who also has some ideas? The Moroccans are trying to have an empire. So they decide to annex this city for no particular reason. Then they annex this city. And suddenly these people are getting a little worried, so they arm up a garrison. And they decide to form a coalition against them. The coalition against, they don't have a name. By the way, they are no longer allies with this country. They're falling out with something because of money. That's why they say money is the root of all evil. So anyway, so this alliance wants to completely destroy this larger Moroccan country. So their alliance forms by fear because they all fear this alliance doesn't include many countries. And some these cities actually know about it, but they actually want to be on the good side. They want to be on Morocco's good side in case they win. Because they know it's going to be a punishment if they lose. And this war begins. The attack of this city. The war begins. This country just declares, just invades. These have their city-states and plus don't really know what to do. Now Michael just gets the farmland. So much has been on the good side. Now there is a little problem, that is these people have a very good military, and they managed to destroy this kingdom over here. They begin to deny Morocco, not because of any nationalist thing, but because they just want to form an empire. These events will be known as the Declaration as the War of known as the War of the Days against the tyrant, because they were actually most for Morocco just don't care. They won, so they might as well just ignore it. If they ever plan a rebellion, and just just do some unspeakable acts. It's not simple. Just do some unspeakable acts that if you find out you're plotting a rebellion. It's that easy. But But anyways, as you can see, this city-state has expanded massively. Meanwhile, Cape Verde, which I think that no, this isn't. Wait, let me just pull up a map real quick. Y'all won't see though, because I will show my address. And I don't want to get doxxed. Alright, so these are alright. These are not Cape Verde. These are oh, these are the Canary Islands. So Canary. So a massive thing happens where many of these begin, or just not relying as much on Canary, so they just declare independence in an act of, I don't know, defiance. Even these islands. Now about these islands, so it's actually Cape Verde. They've had independence for a long time, it just wasn't official. But eventually they just died. Yeah, let's just give up on here. We're never going to get them back on this wall. And people over here are beginning to just separate from their old kingdom. Now the Azores Islands also declare independence and take this land. And take this land over them. You know, Japan starts being more and more discovered. And also, this is discovered by a bunch of people, and they begin settling it to escape the Chinese government. They form their own dynasty, they form their own kingdom. They're here, and it's pretty easy because there's no peace. But also, to be brutally honest, a few warlords decide. This warlord decides, I'm just gonna take over the country. He managed to get you here. Before another lord decided to do the same thing, so they kinda have to do a peace deal. It's not really expect from a warlord. This warlord refuses to take over this, and and he actually pays people to govern for him. So when he dies, his family just conquers Vietnam, forms it as their own country, because they know they're not going to actually be able to control. And as Vietnam forms, they may have contact with the Malays. The Malayans. They declare war on them, and yeah, this happens. They surrender and agree to become their vassal state. However, they also have to give up this land to a few nobles in Malay, so that's all good. The fans can still rule. You know, Burma is first discovered by these people. The Malayans discover it and take control over it. The Malayans are pretty much just kicking it. Meanwhile, over here, a peace treaty is being drawn. Just take it for UNX. She took, doesn't matter. This letter is now useless. And meanwhile, these cities begin to join up until, except for these cities. These cities would later be conquered by a bunch of escapees. These people were prisoners of the French. So they escaped. They took their wives who took wives and anyways, and finally they discovered this, so they conquered it. By the way, people were French mercenaries, so that's why they have so much fighting skill, and they eventually took this over. I'm going to edit this. So your capital would be right here, I think. I think it would be. And Portugal should be here. Meanwhile, this country's capital would be here. Country's capital would be over here. That should probably be over here. Kenya would probably be over here. These would be conquered by Somalia by now. And I completely forgot about I'm just gonna say that there's a peace deal. Also, major cities are forming because, of course, most of these actually have been here since the country formed. I'm just too lazy to actually put them in. I'm doing it right now because I want to end this recording. Also, yes, and also, daily, do our first daily Doggerland update. Okay, what the hell am I doing? It's discovered by the Dutch. Oh, by a bunch of people who are Dutch. Said by a bunch of who live in the Dutch lands. Also, this area is discovered by the Danes. And even this part itself is actually conquered by the Danish themselves. And now we learned that these two areas. Also, over here, a river valley civilization forms in the Amazon. When it probably wouldn't be that big. Civilization would be big in population, but it would be very ununited. Time we can put in a bunch of cities. Also, probably should do that for North America, because what's the clear order should be some cities. For a second, I could go into this big vote, so I don't know what I'm saying. We're in Georgia and Carolina and Delaware. There's more people in this area, as these are where the first people came to. They came from the Canaries, and they eventually started changing the language very quickly, because they all were people who spoke a Creole language. The Creole language of Moroccan and Canary. And plus some of these people also knew Polish for whatever reason. They knew Liechtensteinian. They knew Latin, French, some knew Dutch, and some even knew Persian and Umani. So that kind of mixes it, and eventually these weird languages started forming. And those of none of them actually knew how to write and read. They knew about writing itself, they just didn't know how to read or write. Anyways, so these cities start forming in the basin. Eventually one city-state just takes over the other, meets the ocean, and forms the first kingdom. Or in the first dynasty, which is overthrown by the second dynasty, which is overthrown by the third dynasty. Begins their conquest of Alright, we're done.